Dr. Siler may not be known for her dance moves, but a great dance picture, let's say that. Which I'm sure she has some great dance moves. She is a nationally recognized leader in technologies and workforce training and development to support digital security and information sharing, right? That collaboration spirit that we talked about, that certainly NASA has, right? We're more of a collaborator than a competitor when we do our work within NASA. But Dr. Siler has done much in this community, and that's evident to you all being here today. Dr. Siler, along with CommHIT's Chief Medical Information Officer, Dr. David Willis, founded this initiative in 2008, right? So we are now in 2025, going into 2026. Look at what they've built during this time. It goes into that vision that we talk about as well. You have to have vision and foresight, strategy, collaboration. She spearheaded the development of the American Planning Association, recognize the health element. I actually do some work on the side with Dr. Siler. She's really passionate, as you heard her earlier too, about rural communities. Again, that small town USA plays a part into that for me. Coming from a rural community, I always try to give back to those areas. So it's always great when I can partner with her, even outside of NASA, to do things back into my community and doing speaking engagements to inspire the next generation of explorers, especially our little Madison, who's going to be an astronaut one day, right? So I always make sure when I come here, this is my third time being here, I take a picture with her because I know one day I'll be working for her and I want her to remember me when it's bonus time, right? That she and I started from the beginning, okay? Those things are important, and that's the type of work that Dr. Siler does as well.
Today, we're talking about the Red Queen's dance floor, and it's where rivals waltz to the tune of Co-opetition. So what that means is if you have a goal, you're gonna have to get on the dance floor. And of course, we picked dance because of Debbie Allen. And on the dance floor, it's not necessarily that you're having a fun time the whole time. It might partially be fun, but there may be things that happen to you on that dance floor that you need to keep dancing. There may be people that you don't want to dance with that you have to dance with for a moment, and you might be jockeying for a dance partner with somebody else. So how does that work? How do you navigate that dance floor of life? So this comes from the Red Queen hypothesis, and that's a biology hypothesis that Lee Van Valen came out with in 1973. And it was basically talking about species extinction. So if you're not adapting and evolving with your particular environment, because you are dealing with parasites, you're dealing with other competitors, even your type of species is trying to go for the same nutrients that you are, then you're going to go extinct. And this came from the Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass, because the Red Queen in that particular story, she runs really fast and she takes Alice around, running her as fast as she can. If you think about this in business and strategy, standing still is going to mean that you're falling behind, because your competitors, the technology, the market, everything is advancing. So if you're not running as fast as you can, if you're not keeping a lookout and forecasting and trying to stay ahead of things, you will fall behind. And then if you want to be a leader, then you have to be one of the fastest ones at reinventing yourself and understanding what the trend is. And Tomas, that is what you're going to be talking about today with the art of the pivot. So again, the running, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place, and that is from Through the Looking Glass. So standing still, that means falling behind. So co-evolution, we're all in this together. It doesn't mean what you think I mean by it. It doesn't mean we're all in this together, kumbaya, this is great, let's all collaborate. We do want to collaborate, right? But what this really means is that you have to be constantly adapting against all of your ever-changing competitors and your parasites and your environment. So you want to be networked with people that you can trust, have those trusted relationships, and think about where are you going to collaborate and where are you going to compete, And that can change over time. Sometimes you're collaborating, sometimes you're competing on this, on what started as a collaboration. It may become a competition at some point, and then you start collaborating with some other thing. So you just have to understand that it's ebbing and flowing the same way life ebbs and flows for us. So what I say with this is game on with co-opetition. And then that's what that theme is today. Working together while we're still competing where it's appropriate for us to compete. And what is the purpose of co-opetition? It's to expand your share strategically. So that may mean making a bigger pie for everyone to have more opportunities, and then cooperating from that new landscape that you've all created. It may mean that you're meeting big risks or challenges. So think about space exploration. There's a lot of competitors in space exploration, but they still all have to work together on some levels, especially using centralized platforms or other things that need to happen for this to be successful. There is no one organization that can do it all. It really does take that whole village of organizations, even if within the village you're sometimes competing. Also, you may want to reduce costs or redundancy. So MIH programs, mobile integrated health. So these are the programs that are connecting the healthcare, the traditional healthcare, into the communities they serve, taking into account even social services, right? So maybe physicians might think, hey, these fire rescue people are taking my patients away from me. You're actually not. You're actually finding them more patients and connecting them better and getting patients to an appropriate level of care before something gets worse. So it does reduce costs and redundancies, and it may be something that we all need to adapt to. You also may want to use specialists or subs. Maybe you don't need somebody as part of your company the whole time, but you need them for a certain piece. So that's another place where you use co-opetition. This optimizes win-win. It's not a zero-sum game the way a lot of other things are, and it is a type of game theory. So an example of this would be this value net framework. And co-opetition, this was actually coined in 1996 by Adam Brandenburg and Barry Nailbuff. And they came up with this value net framework just to kind of give you a very basic view of what this means. So you're in the middle, that's your organization. You have your competitors, you have your suppliers, you have your complementers, and you have your customers. And again, I'm just giving you something very simple here, just so you can grasp this as you go throughout the day. So here's an example of that model. So in the 1960s, Fairchild Semiconductors, they were experiencing a big boom. I mean, basically just the world had a boom where they needed semiconductors. It was for space travel, it was for government, it was for universities. And Fairchild and all of these organizations that were making semiconductors, they're like, how are we going to make this as cheaply as possible and have a quality product? So Fairchild came up with a great idea. They said, okay, we're going to make this built in America, and what if we go to an Indian reservation? What if we work with indigenous people, specifically Navajo people, because the Navajo weavers are able to do the delicate type work that's needed to put together these semiconductors. So if you look at their competitors, some big ones were Texas Instrument, Intel, Motorola. Suppliers and complementers, I think they would kind of switch back and forth between that, but the DNA people, which were that was the highly skilled workforce, the Navajo Tribal Council, which was helping them because at that time they had 40% unemployment rate, and they were trying to not have an unemployment rate that was so high, and also federal subsidies for being on the land. So Fairfield built a plant on the Navajo land. The customers, again, defense contractors, US government, and universities. So mostly it was women mostly, and they were making transistors and integrated circuit precision assembly. So those are just kind of some of the tasks there at the bottom. And Mary Lou Schultz is with us today to talk about this more. She just got done exhibiting her work at the MoMA, and she was commissioned by Intel in 1996. In some ways, a hat tip to the Fairfield work, and also to show how this ancestral knowledge builds into technology and us being able to press forward, as humanity is able to press forward and go into space. So I just put this up there for fun, but which is Mary Lou's art piece and which is the Intel Pentium chip? So Mary Lou's is actually the one that has the words on there showing what the different chip pieces are. But you can see the intricacy of that, and they would have to look through microscopes to actually be able to do the work at the time. So another example of Red Queen theory, and going back to co-opetition, that's one thing that allows us to run faster, adapt faster, to work with other people, and then compete if there's either a bigger pie or get through challenges. But this digital twin, it's a safe virtual version of anything where you can run tests before you try it out in real life. So this is perfect for Red Queen hypothesis, and I put a little Bruce Springsteen in there too, baby, we were born to run. And today, would you believe that we have the digital twin co-inventor, the first digital twin? We use them all the time now for everything, and she's sitting right here, Dr. Karen Panetta. So yeah, amazing. So you can see how this just helps humanity right here. It helps us adapt and evolve because we can adapt faster, innovate faster. You can do real-time monitoring. You can do what-if scenarios. It really shortens those feedback loops. Risk-free and lower-cost experimentation. Could you imagine if we had to try to do this stuff in real life? Like all these experiments, we wouldn't get through it. And then you're also able to model complex ecosystems too. So it's not necessarily that one thing with that one variable, but you can start modeling how it's interconnected with other systems and show ripple effects, other partners that may be unexpected, and so on. So just a few things that I do want you to think about during the day. Again, this is basic, but I just wanted to make sure you're primed for the day. When you're doing co-opetition, then you need to think about your risk and your ability to protect the part that keeps you you, the piece that's unique to you, that's your critical assets, your secret sauce. So the safest scenario to actually collaborate with someone is when neither party has secret sauce that's at risk and you cooperate together and it creates value. A little more risky, both parties have secret sauce and teaming increases their advantage. And it's not that you're sharing everything, but just think about the piece that you're sharing with someone. What is it that you're giving up to the other person if you are actually cooperating? Higher risk is the stronger party gains by sharing and the weaker party has to go along with it. And an example of that would be like the Amazon platform, right? Or Walmart or something that, they're so big, you just have to sell there or else you're going to be losing out because you're not going to have the visibility yourself. And then the highest risk, and this is the one that, you can get to the point to where you can't reverse it, right? All the other ones are kind of iterative, in a way, like you can kind of still pull back if you need to. But if one party shares its secret sauce to reach another customers, then everybody can copy you at that point. And then, what are you? You kind of have to start all over again. You can lose everything that way. So that's the scariest one to do. But sometimes people are in a position to where, desperate times call for desperate measures. So I'm not saying don't ever do it, but certainly think really hard about it if you're going to do something like that. And as you know, our CommHIT events are to celebrate our wins from the last year, just get this last little breath that we're like, wow, this year's done, like, thank God, we completed it, and get you ready for the next year. So we're all about forecasting what do we think's coming up next year. And Dr. Willis, he actually came up with the idea of weaving things last year, and it morphed into this co-opetition, and we're doing both today.
CommHIT.